Good evening. Check test 1 2. Just checking the audio here, make sure everything's working good. Sounds good. Good evening. Check test 1 2. Just checking the audio here, make sure everything's working good. All right, excuse me for just a minute. For some reason or another, as soon as I started this, I've got a cough. All right, hopefully that is a little better. Hi, good evening. I hope everybody had a great week. I sure did. We'll slip over to the chat here in just a minute. But I'm just double checking on things here. Got a good question from Tim today that we're going to chat about tonight. So, dang it. You're going to have to excuse me for just 1 second. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. Hopefully that'll help. I have confirmed the source of my allergies, and it is the dog. For those of you that have followed along for a while know that in addition to inheriting a brother who lives with me now, I also got my dad's dog when he passed. And I got some testing done. They did the, scratch test on me, and I got the results last week, and there's several things I'm allergic to. But dogs and cats, animal hair in general seems to be one. So I guess now I'm kind of faced with a decision on what to do with the pooch. I don't think he's going to be able to stay here, and that I can tolerate. Anyway, so hi everybody. Let's go see who's in the chat. Pull this over here. Gary's in from Arizona. Scotty's in from the Pacific Northwest. Tim's in from Ohio. Looks like we got George in from LaBelle, Florida. Vincent's in from Tampa. Good to see you guys. Of course, the pre-chat was a lot about the weather. Sorry about that. And as it usually is. So overall, how is the quality tonight? I made some significant changes to my setup this past week. I did some reorganizing and moved a few things around logically in the computer, and because I was having some issues here and there. And so, is the video quality good? It looks like I'm getting a warning that it's not. They want 4500, so I'm not going to stop and fix that now, because I believe I'll have to stop the stream to set that. So we'll live with it as it is, and I will repair it for next week. Okay, so as always, if you have a question or comment, please go ahead and throw it over into the chat window there. Let me make sure I've got not muted. Okay, throw it into the chat window there. We'd also like to know who you are and where you're watching from tonight. Yeah, there's a fan that runs over here. It's an air cleaner, Sam. It's just one of the things I've been trying to do to clear up this allergy situation that I started to pick up. I thought it was something in the house, so I went and got a air cleaner. I can turn that off. Give me a second. Yeah, it's a lot quieter. I can tell already. I don't even have to listen to the stream. So thanks for the comment, Sam. I'll have to remember to shut that down. Sam's in from Oregon tonight. Robert Black's checking in from Texas. It's good to see you guys. Yeah, so, and Two Feathers is in. Hey, Two, just you tonight. Eric working? Question mark. I imagine he is. You said you were up at Havasu because he had something going on up there, which is cool. I had a really good friend of mine that was at Havasu for a couple years, and he ran the boat across the lake up there for the RV park. So, yeah, cool guy. I haven't seen him for a while. I'll have to run him down. That's something I haven't thought about for a while. Anyway, I'm going to run over here to Tim's comments, questions that he sent. Tim's one of longtime regular viewer and also a channel moderator. But he asked a question tonight. Let me pop over here and get this set up so we can share this. Okay, and I think if I do this, come on. And all right, should be ready to do this. Okay. So Tim says he installed his Victron battery shunt, and I like the looks of these. They have re-engineered and modified this, which is really cool. So here's the shunt right here. Okay. Keep in mind that with the shunt, all of the negative electrons, all the negative connections have to go through a common point, which Tim has done here. Okay. That way you can measure every electron that comes and goes from the batteries, and that's part of the question that Tim's asking. And then there's just another shot of his battery pack, all reconnected. The shunt looks like his shunt's sitting right there. Okay, and he has looks like 3 Group 24 Marine EverStart batteries in there. And then let's pop over here real quick and we'll take a quick look at the interface. I love, this is Bluetooth, right? So this is a Bluetooth connection. There is no, nothing else you need other than an excuse me, other than an app on your phone. And Tim, the voltage looks really low there. So his question was, and it's an excellent question, and I thought about it a little bit, but I thought maybe we would chat about it. How to sort this out, because I think we can get close. Okay, I don't think we're going to get absolutely close. I mean, we're not going to be, dead on. But his question is, he has 335 amp hour batteries for a total of 405 amp hours. Now remember, with lead acid batteries, you only want to discharge or use 50% of the battery's capacity. Okay? In lead acid batteries and AGMs, if you use more than 50% of the battery, you start to get into the range where you're starting to damage a lead acid battery. Okay, that's one of the things that makes lithium stand out over lead acid, is because you can use really 100% of the capacity of that battery versus 50% with lead acid. Okay, so that's one of the things that's a plus about going to a lithium style battery. But that's not the question here. The question is, at 50% state of discharge, or at 50% use, he should get 202 amp hours of capacity out of the battery. And he says he has doubts if his Walmart batteries are going to achieve that. I know the shunt will tell me when I'm at 50% based on the 202 amp hours. How do I accurately know when they have provided 50% of their available power? Voltage? Good question, and voltage will help. He says, I've read that 12.24 volts DC is approximately 50% state of charge, but he says that also needs to be measured as the open circuit voltage and after a period of no load rest. Okay, so let's talk about two things. Open circuit or open current voltage means that there is nothing connected to the battery. Okay? All right, so that's really difficult to achieve. I mean, unless you physically go out, pull the battery cables off, and measure the voltage. And who wants to do that every time they want to know where their batteries are state-wise? And then the other thing that they say in that statement is after a period of no load rest. So in other words, and this is the same for charging, if you've charged that battery pack up, then it needs to sit for a while, and it'll kind of equalize out a little bit to a voltage level, okay, really. And that open circuit voltage again would be, or open current voltage, I call it open circuit, would be with nothing connected to the battery packs at all. Now, we can get a rough estimate out of it. First off, keep in mind that as your batteries are used and as they age, you're not going to have a full 202 amp hours in this particular case. All right? I'm going to come back over here. All right. So you're not going to have a full 202 amp hours of capacity in those batteries. To start with, you probably didn't when they came off the shelf, but you were probably pretty close. After a year or so of use, let's see, I thought the stickers on those was 922. I'm not going to go to multi-screen. I'll just go back and look. Yeah, so those batteries, okay, they're 6 months old. We'll just call it 6 months. They're close enough, close enough. Oh, and by the way, that may be something that I maybe ought to mention here real quick. I'll come back over here to the picture-in-picture. If you see that sticker right here, okay, oh, now I'm hiding it. Hang on, let me move myself over here. There we go. So if you see this sticker right here, that's the date of manufacture, and it's important. And I'm glad to see that's on the battery. And in fact, you should check that when you're buying batteries, particularly lead acids. Okay? Wrong button. There we go. Because keep in mind that even though nothing is attached to a lead acid battery, there's going to be a decrease in the capacity of that battery due to the natural discharge of the chemical reactions continuing to operate in that battery even though nothing is connected to it. That's another plus that lithium has over lead acid, is that that reaction really doesn't continue in lithium. It does a little bit, but not like lead acid. Okay, so all of those factors rolled up together. Yeah, I think I got it now. All those factors rolled up together. I'm just making sure everything's good. Yeah, okay. All those factors rolled up together. I'm going to say, let's just go 190 amp hours. Okay, that's roughly 10%. So we're generously adjusting your battery pack about 10% of its amp hour capacity, just from the time how old it is, the fact that it probably really didn't make 135 amp hours of battery when it came off the shelf, the fact that they're pretty new, that's a good thing. But anyway, with all that said and done, go to 190. And as far as the voltage goes, what I'm looking at here, I'll pop back over to this. This is pretty low. I mean, that's a battery that needs charging in my mind. I see that you're using current off of it, and I'm assuming that you probably had your charger turned off so that you weren't charging at all. But that's pretty low. In fact, that would be about as far as I'd want to take a lead acid battery pack, as far as discharging it goes, by measuring it using the voltage. Let's talk a little bit about why you need the open circuit. Two things. There can be no load on that battery because anytime you start to put load on a battery, the voltage in that battery is going to sneak down a little bit. Okay, the more current the battery is providing, the lower the voltage is going to go. And so that's why they say that you should have open circuit or open current voltage. I call it open circuit. The voltage, the way I ran my batteries in my Class A was my low cutoff point was 12.5 volts. I was working on, I think I might have a chart here that I can share with you just a minute. I was working on the graphic, the animation that I shared last week. I had dug up some other information here, just one moment, and I think I can jump right over there, and I think I can find that chart. Hold on here. Let's see, lead acid. Lead acid. No. Shoot, it's not going to pop up here. Dang it. Anyway, I have a chart here. I will dig it up. This might be it. Let me see if this is it. No, this is the one that I think it was Scotty shared this one with us last week. 2 weeks ago it was. I'll bring this up real quick. And so for a lithium battery, your voltages and the approximate capacity is shown here. Note down here where it says resting. You see that right there? That means that it's set there after it's been charged and it's sort of settled down, okay, to a resting state, if you will. I'm going back over here. Let's see if I can find the lead acid one of those, because I did have one. It might not jump out at me here real fast, so I may have to punt. But there is a similar one that I found. A quick Google search should bring something up for you, Tim. But with that said, 12.4 is pretty low. I would say that's probably about 50% discharged. And so that would be my cutoff point. I wouldn't want to use my battery packs much below that. Okay? If you get below that, you're going to be damaging the batteries. 12 volts should be probably your low battery cutoff in your inverter. So yeah, he says charger was off and fridge was on. Perfect. So that's not bad. Your fridge was pulling 10 amps. That's pretty good. All right, so I hope that answered your question. I would go with 190 amp hours is what I would set it at. And then I wouldn't take your batteries below 12.2. 12 volts maximum. You get below 12 volts, you're going to be discharging, deeply discharging that battery, and you could be damaging the batteries. Okay. Anyway, hi Ben. Sorry you can't comment. That's weird. I've had that problem reported before. That people at times, it's something to do with YouTube's live stream. On certain phones, people aren't able to comment, and I really apologize for that. Not much I can do about that, other than, yeah, if you want to make a comment, go ahead and email me, and I'd be happy to respond to that. Ben Denby, who is a viewer from out in Florida as well, a really cool guy. He works for, I think it was Motorola. He spent a lot of time away after that hurricane they had down there this last fall. Anyway, let me run over to back to the comments and chat here and see if anybody else has checked in. Let me get my screens reorganized here so it's more back to where it should be. Oh, Jesus. All right. Okay. All right, so let's see. Let me just run in here, and then I'm kind of scanning the comments here real quick. Cause, okay, who else might have checked in? Okay, looks like Eric Myers is in. Hey, Eric, so glad to see you're here. Robert Black from Texas. We commented. Sam's here from. Sam, you're up in Central Oregon, if memory serves me correctly, and it's so nice to have you here. My keyboard's in focus, but okay, we could do this. Maybe. Well, that's a little better. At least my head isn't getting cut off. If I go too high, I have a halo, and nobody that knows me knows I don't have a halo. You see my halo over here? So that's just because from the light refracting. And so yeah, anybody that knows me knows I don't have any halo. All right, oh, now I've cut my head off. All right, let's go back here. All right, we're dinking with the camera, TR. Okay, thanks, Sam. Yeah, not too distracting. I never think about it, and I can clearly turn the fan off at night. I just tend to leave it on all the time. It's white noise in the background. Tim says that's the IP65 version, so that's not a bad setup. I like that. Cool. All right. Cool. Excellent. David Cockrell's in. Hello, David. So nice to have you here. By the way, that reminds me, I'm glad you did come. David has a YouTube channel. You might want to go over and check it out. And then also, Gary has posted 3 or 4 videos here in the last couple, 3 or 4 weeks. So Gary D from down in Arizona, he's got a YouTube channel going. You might run over and check that out, as well as David. David claims he's not going to do much with it. He installed a new converter, excuse me. That was a converter. I promised to clean up my language. So he installed a new converter in his system, in his trailer last week. So yeah, if you have any questions, be sure and throw them over in the chat window. Without your questions, this is going to be a short stream tonight. But if I get questions or comments that we can chat about, I'm more than happy to do that. So I'm definitely looking forward to spring. I want to. I was going to ask about a couple things. Excuse me for just a minute. I'm still. Now I'm full of gunk. I'm going to have to. All right, that's better. Two Feather says she says the switch for her holding tank heater. How does that work, and should I use it when temps are freezing? It's probably, it might be a pad heater, okay? So it's just like an electric blanket, except it runs on 12 volts. I would think it would run on 12 volts. You would want to refer to your owner's manual for information on that as well. And since it does have a switch, I don't know if it's a pad type, okay, or if it's a fan type that draws warm air from inside of your coach and dumps it into the basement. I know on the new Mars, at least mine, I know Tom Downey probably has the same setup, but in our new Mars, we had a vent hole, and there was a switch in the water bay that you could flip on, and that controlled a little exhaust fan, if you will. The exhaust fan turns on when the furnace fan is on. Okay, so when the furnace is running, that little exhaust fan, if you will, runs, and it draws air out of the coach into the basement and keeps the basement warm. Yours may work that way. It may be a pad. Some RVs have like a pad, like a heating blanket, that may be 12 volts or 110. But yeah, so I would check into that and find out. But if it is the exhaust fan type 2, then you are going to have the heat running in the RV, which answers your next question. If it is the pad type, okay, then you may not have to have the heat running in your RV. I'm not exactly sure which one you have. It should be in your owner's manual to tell you what type it is. Eric Meyer says, where is the sensor that tells the furnace to come on? Well, it's usually in the thermostat, Eric. In some cases, if you have a 40-foot RV, you might have 2 sensors. There may be one in the back and one up front. And that might be particularly true if you have 2 air conditioning units. Most of those air conditioning units are also heat pumps, so you can reverse them, and actually down to about 40 degrees outside, 40 degrees Fahrenheit, I should say. You can use them as heat pumps and actually use them for heat. But oftentimes there'll be 2 units. So if you have 2 AC units, then you very much likely have 2 temperature sensors, one in the rear of your coach, one up front. Otherwise, You may only have one, and it would be in the thermostat, just like in your home. Oh, Joni Portwood. Hey, good to see you tonight. Joni and I have had quite a discussion offline here over the last couple of weeks. She had a couple of truck campers that she was, wanting to do a restore on, and so I helped her maybe make a decision on that, and it looks like she did. She had a 69 truck camper and a 1988 camper, and I encouraged her to stick with the 88. The 69 undoubtedly was going to be a total rebuild. Those of you that have been on the stream a while will remember Jay from Square Body Truck Camper. He rebuilt in 1970 and basically completely rebuilt it from scratch. Older truck campers are going to have leaked, have leaked severely. They'll have a lot of rot, and that's a total restore. Okay, it's going to be very close to what I'm doing with mine. Complete, if mine was a 69 or an 870 or somewhere in the 70s, I would probably have to completely rebuild it. Fortunately, I was able to surgically cut around and get my truck camper set up to where I can overhaul it with, not completely rebuilding it. So good. I'm glad to hear that. She said they went to a couple who were living out of their truck. They were glad to get it. That's excellent. That is good. Gary D says he's noticed that some 12-volt 100-amp lithium batteries weigh more than others. Absolutely true, and that has to do with the quality of the manufacturing and the materials used. It's just like anything. We looked last year, I guess it was probably last spring. I can't remember. It might have been 2 springs ago when Sam Allen was wanting to. Oh, and Sam has a Newmar as well, a Dutch Star. Anyway, that Sam wanted to was looking at lithiums and asked about SOK, which is a Korean lithium battery, and they look like fine batteries. I mean, they were certainly one that I would consider based on what the specifications and what I could find online told me about them. As everybody knows, I'm a fan of Battleborn. I think Battleborn has a good solid battery. And also, I've noticed that the same thing, that Battleborn batteries, they weigh a little bit more than some of the other ones. And I think that's probably has to do a lot with the case material construction. In other words, what the box of the battery is built out of. And then also the materials used in the battery. The batteries are cheaper for a reason, right? I mean, a $600 lithium battery and a $900 lithium battery probably don't have the same materials used in their construction. There's a reason why the one is 900 and one is 600. Now, that's not to say one is better than the other at this point, all right? We don't know. We're just using that as an example to answer Gary's question about why some weigh more than the other. And it's just because of the quality of the materials, excuse me, quality of the materials, and the construction of the battery itself. I was going to go back over here and get back to the comments here. All right, let's see. Okay, yeah, I don't see anything new, so if there's no other questions, we'll hang out here. It's 1:30. It's usually the time I do the cheap commercial plug. In that, if you like this video, be sure and give me that thumbs up. I always appreciate that. If you're not subscribed, I do invite you to subscribe and ring the notification bell. Still got 3 or 4 videos on the truck camper to do before I run out of content there. Plus, I've got some other videos in the works. I'm updating my holding tank maintenance video. I'm getting ready to publish a video about charging your RV's batteries, the house batteries, off your car or truck's alternator if you don't have that feature already. In fact, Kevin Coop was instrumental in helping me edit that article a little better and picked up a couple of things that I needed to take care of, and so that's greatly appreciated. Anyway, yeah, so there's lots of content still to come on the channel. I invite you to be sure and subscribe and ring the notification bell. Also, a quick visit over to my website, trbolin.com, is always greatly appreciated, as is your support of my channel using the links, the affiliate links in the description of the videos. As an Amazon affiliate or other affiliate, I do get a small commission, but you'll pay the same price, and in fact, sometimes you'll get a discount. And so, yeah, your support is greatly appreciated. Okay, let's see. Yeah, no worries, Dave. Okay, let's see. Two feathers. They are heating pads for the gray and black tanks. I was hoping it was for the freshwater. And must be plugged into the shore power, otherwise it will discharge the house batteries quickly. Okay, so they are 110 pads. They're like electric blankets, and they basically just put enough heat into the tank to keep them from freezing. The thing you got to watch on those two is that although the tank's heated, the outlet isn't. And so that's why it's important to keep that the holding tank valve closed, especially in freezing weather, and make sure that your water bay is warm, stays warm, because you can heat that tank, which presumably will keep the contents of the tank warmer. Excuse me. And presumably that will help keep the water inside of that valve, or the holding sitting behind the valve waiting to flush out, warm. But if it's really cold, you're probably going to want to add some auxiliary heat to your water bay proper. Okay, and especially important if your holding tank connections are outside of the RV, like many travel trailers. I often think about Class A's, Class C's, where they have a water bay, and then oftentimes they'll have all of the water connections, excuse me, in that water bay. Excuse me, and so yeah, sometimes you need to provide some supplement to heat for the water bay. I stayed in sub-zero weather in my RV, and I actually froze my hose one time because I had forgotten and I left the gray tank open. It was one of those things. It was cold as hell. I went out and pulled the valve to dump the gray tank. I thought, well, I'll leave it drain for a few minutes. And I didn't get back out till the next day, and I had frozen the water in the line. So I had to put as people have heard me say before, I actually had a trouble light, an old-fashioned trouble light, and with an incandescent bulb in it. I stuck that in the water bay, and it thawed it out pretty fast. Dave says he has the 2013 fifth wheel. It has the four-season or polar package, and his water still freezes. Is that your freshwater? Question mark. Because it's funny that oftentimes, like in two feather situation, they only have pads on the gray tank and the black tank. Why not have a pad on the freshwater? Question mark. I guess the way to get around that is don't fill your freshwater tank. Use a hose, a heated hose, and don't fill your freshwater tank. But that seems inconvenient to me. And Tim's got a good point, and I did that as well, and I'd forgotten that, is that I got some remote thermostat. I left it in the RV when I sold it on the Class A, but it had 3 zones, and I had 2 external temperature sensors. And so, yeah, I put one in the water bay, and then I put one outside to get the outside temperature. So, yeah, having those remote temperature senders is really super handy. And especially if you can have it one that has alarm level, so you can go in and say, okay, I want you to alert me when it gets to be, let's say 34 degrees before it starts to freeze. Which, by the way, yeah, never mind. David Cockrell says, oh, so it's the water inside the coach. The kitchen fully froze and the bathroom hot water. Yeah, those RVs. Well, now, okay, you're in Texas. You're in Texas, aren't you, Dave? So you don't get to see freezing weather very often, but when you do, it's a huge mess. Just like last year when the power was out for most of Texas for most of a week. And anyway, so you don't see a lot of freezing weather, but yeah, the only way to get away from that is to leave your, this is common knowledge in cold climates that get freezing weather. But what you do is you leave your thermostat, the heat on, say at 50, 55 degrees, but open the cabinet underneath the sinks in the bathroom and or the kitchen, and that allows air to circulate through there, and it'll keep those from freezing up. But yeah, they're really not designed for really cold temperatures inside the RV. You should never leave. If there was any chance of any freezing or weather conditions, you should never leave water in any of your tanks. And in fact, if it's going to be really cold, you definitely want to be winterizing your RV. And I have a great article over on my website, trboland.com, 18 tips for winterizing your RV. It'll walk you through all of the things you need to do to winterize it and get it ready for winter. Although we're, 27 days from spring. So, boy, am I excited about that. Just under a month. Oh, you're North Texas. Okay, so yeah, you get freezing weather all the time. So you should be winterizing your RV. Let's see, North Texas probably, I would think that by probably late September, early October, you're starting to see some freezing temperatures. And that's probably when you want to winterize. Which is to get all of the water out of your water systems, your hot water tank, everything, get it drained out, because you start freezing those lines and they start cracking, and that gets messy and expensive really fast. By the way, here's a tip for you. If you're worried that your water system might be leaking, what you can do is put enough water in your water tank so that your pump will prime, and then turn the hydrant water off, turn the spigot water off, so you're running on your pump only. Let your pump start up, let it run, and then stop, and make sure all your drains are closed, or all your faucets are closed inside. And if that pump keeps cycling, even though there's nothing turned on, then you got a leak somewhere and you need to find it. Oh yeah, there you go. He says, I drain it after use and antifreeze it. This is while I'm staying in it, so temperature set at 70. Yeah, you may just have to leave the your doors, the kitchen cabinet door, the sink, the storage under your sinks open. And then you might want to consider, and I saw Robert mention this, and that's a good idea. I used a trouble light, but you might want to add some additional heat to your water bay, where your water connections are. If you have that in that fifth wheel, it's newer. I don't recall. Let's see. It's a 2013 fifth. Okay, yeah. So if you have a water bay, you might want to consider putting in just a little bit of extra heat. I think Robert mentioned he had a small oil-filled radiator that has a thermostat, and the oil-filled radiators are very safe. They're good to put in basements. I like the trouble lamp. It's not quite as automatic though, but I like the trouble lamp. It's got the cage over it, so there's very little chance of anything catching on fire. And the other thing is you need an incandescent light. An LED light will not do it. An incandescent light puts off enough heat to keep your water bay from freezing up. And then, of course, a heated hose, if you're going to be in cold temperatures, in cold weather, is a must. Two Feathers says, sure, fresh water is under the bed, which has a 12-inch hole for access. I usually keep heat in it and prop my bed up so the heat can get down there. That's a good call. That's a good idea. That's a good way to do that. And since the freshwater tank is technically inside the coach, that may be why they didn't bother to put a heating pad of some sort on it. She says, so far it's worked. P.S. There's no water in it. I just worry about the hoses freezing. Yes, I know about the light, but then I worry about fire. Yep, yeah, totally. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. Yeah, you might consider then Robert's suggestion, which is the oil-filled radiators. They're by far the safest because they rarely get hot enough to ignite something. All right, so any other questions or comments? I thought I heard an email pop in. Let me just go over here and check and make sure I didn't miss it. All right, nothing there. Yeah, I usually will. I do need to obviously improve the lighting a little bit. I've noticed that here. Just a minute. Let me see if I can. What I can do here, if I can keep from blowing everything up. So if I run that, then I end up with rings on my eyes, right? So then I end up with the green eyes. I get the glowing eyes. I'll just take the glasses off. I'll just have to squint. Eric Meyer says a fifth wheel burned here last week. Yeah, that happens, definitely. I guess it was 2019. There's actually a video on my channel about fire safety in RVs that was generated because Winnebago, 2006 Winnebago, with a never cold 1200 fridge, caught on fire in my RV park. And of course, you have an RV fire like that, it's done. You're done. And these folks lost everything, and they were full-timers. They had just sold their house, so they had a bunch of stuff in storage, but they lost everything in their RV except they had the presence of mind to grab a laptop and a couple of iPads and their cell phones. And of course, this happened at 3 in the morning too, right? It never happens in the middle of the day. Well, never say never. But I've seen 3 or 4 fires come on out of Quartzsite last year, or this fall, and winter, from some channels that I watch that are down in Quartzsite right now. Yeah, it's not that uncommon, and the most common cause of it is electrical, and the second most common cause is a fridge fire. Two Feathers says, good reason to have fireproof safe. Yep. All right, so any last questions, comments? All right, well, I'm going to try this here. This will probably kill me. So if I'm going to try to make an adjustment here on one thing, and if that kills the stream, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week, same bat time, same bat channel. But I'm going to try to make a little change here real quick and see if that, no, I'm not. It won't let me because my video is active. Okay, so we won't worry about that. Okay, so any last questions or comments, feel free to throw them over there in the chat window. Also, if there's something you'd like me to cover, please be sure and let me know. Last week we were talking about, it was Jim Bertrand popped in, and he had gotten a new converter from Waco, and that it was auto detect, and that got me interested in thinking about it, because to me, a battery is a battery electrically. Okay, they do charge differently. There's going to be a difference in what's known as the internal resistance. Okay, so the internal resistance, think of it like blowing up a balloon. It's the same idea in a battery. When you first charge that battery after you've used it, let's say to 50% of its capacity, it's easy to shove the electrons in. So when you first start blowing up a balloon, it's really easy. But the fuller the balloon gets, the harder you have to blow to get that balloon to fill up. And it's the same is true when you're charging a battery. as the electrons start to fill in, okay, start to load up inside of the battery, it takes a lot more energy to shove those electrons into the battery, and it goes slower. And so yeah, I always think of it that way. This is like blowing up a battery. The difference might be, first off, is that, and here's what I ended up doing. I contacted the smartest battery people I know, and that was Battleborn. They have an amazing technical support team. They'll answer just about any question, and so I put in a support request. Hey, how does this work? Because I couldn't figure it out. And I mean, I did some research, and I went to Waco's website, and I looked at that inverter that automatically senses the battery type. We're talking lead acid versus lithium. And the only thing they will say is that when you first hook it up, the first charge of the battery will tell it what kind of battery it is. And so I got to just imagine that it has to do a little bit with the internal resistance being different. Also, the way the battery charges is obviously going to be different, like we looked at last week. You know, the absorption cycle is going to be a lot shorter in a lithium battery versus lead acid battery. And apparently this charger is able to detect that. And there may be something else in there that they truly is proprietary. But the long and short of it is that all of the chargers that I could find that were auto-sensing required either a reset if you changed the battery type, or that you drew the battery down if you discharged the battery to a certain point, say 12.6 volts, and then recharged it. But with the new charger, it could sense what kind of battery it was. So I guess it's great technology, as long as you don't change your battery type after you install it. But I don't know if I'd trust it. I would want to have the ability to make damn sure that it recognized what kind of battery was there, so you didn't burn up, $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 worth of batteries. Two says, I'm really fuzzy. That's because for whatever reason, when I was making the changes, I turned the quality of the video going outbound down to half of what it was last week. And so that's going to look like it's fuzzy. It will be fixed for next week for sure. Yeah, Dave Cockrell says his was the same converter. I noticed that, and that's what got me thinking about it. I was thinking about your install, David, was that you used the same Waco converter, 7540 or something like that. Robert Black, okay, Robert's having a discussion with Tim, okay, and Gary. Battleborn is great people. I totally agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, I'm not an affiliate there. They don't buy me anything. I've paid full price for my batteries from them. And, I just think they're the best batteries. Not to say anything bad about any other battery. They all work fine, as far as I know. Do your research, though. I will say that. Rusty Guerrera. Hi, Rusty. So good to see you here. I'm adding a Cummins 5500. Okay. Surge protection. Okay, go ahead and shoot, Rusty. Happy to help. We got lots of experience with surge protection. There's a good video on my channel about surge protector that I installed in my Class A before I delivered it to the new owner. So yeah, shoot away, Mr. Guerrera. We're happy to help. Well, I'm assuming Mr. Sorry, I shouldn't do that. Rusty it's one of those names like Tracy, which is my real name for those of you that don't know that. I've gone by TR since I worked in radio, and that started back in 1976, so what's that tell you? Even my mother called me TR. Only people who have known me for a very long time call me the other name. I'm just double checking for any emails that come in. All right. Robert Black says, when filling a freshwater tank, if you fill it until the water comes out of the vent overflow, is that too full? No. No, that's basically how you fill them. You know, in the new Mars, the Class A's, a lot of times they'll have something called a slobber tube. And so, yeah, you fill the tank until the water starts to come out the slobber tube. Mister, okay, good. Rusty says, did you put in a surge line from generator or just the shore power? Typically just the shore power, Rusty. You could certainly install it, in an appropriate location to cover both. But generators don't generally, they don't have the capacity to make big surges like you would get from the public utility. The video, there is a video on my channel. Hang on a minute here, and I will run over here real quick and get you the link to that. But there is a video on my channel regarding surge protection. A lot of background information on that. And here it is right here. Let me grab that link and come over here. Oh, thank you so much, too. You're such a sweetheart for, you've taken extremely good care of me, and I really do greatly appreciate that. So, Rusty, I just posted a link, and that is to a video on my channel that I produced last spring, just about a year ago now, where I installed a surge suppressor, whole coach surge suppressor for my RV, and it's only on the utility power side. So typically you only install them on the utility power side because your generator, although it could make a surge, but it wouldn't make a surge large enough to cause any problems, to cause major damage. Nothing like you would get off the utility, off the grid, basically from a lightning strike or something like that. So I hope that helps. All right, we're coming up on 7:53. I thought we were done at half past the hour, but it's amazing how things stretch out a little bit. And if there's any other questions, throw them in there. Happy to help. Otherwise, I'll take another little sip of tea here. And I know we've got some latency in the stream. So we'll hang out here for just a minute and let folks get caught up. Because, like I say, I know there's latency. What I mean by that is that I might be as much as 1.5 to 2 minutes ahead of you, depending upon where you are and when you connected to the stream. Yeah, go ahead, Rusty. Happy to help, and you're very welcome. So go ahead and ask away. Security systems, okay? Security by Smith & Wesson is pretty effective. Wink, wink. Propane tank monitors. Several of them out there available. Some work by weight, and I've been looking at, actually over in my store, Gary, in my Amazon store. I'll go look here real quick because I did identify a pair that I was going to get. First thing you got to do is spell correctly. Moepka, I believe that's the one I picked, Tim. I'm just running over here to my store. Truck camper renovation, truck camper restoration. Where's that? There it is. Come on. I believe they were the Moepkas, though. Thanks, Tim, for the reminder that I was going to put on the truck camper. And yeah, they are the Moepkas. So that's a good set that I'm aware of. Okay, Rusty. Security systems, propane. All right. Okay. Yeah, I've heard some good things about Mupka. Good to see you checking in, Tom. You're welcome, Rusty. I'm here every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, Rusty. Rain or shine. I think in the last 2 years, I might have missed. Well, I usually will take the time off around Christmas. But I think I'm pretty close to, I'm up to 98. So I have done 98 live RV question and answer sessions. 100 will be coming up here, the first one in March. So yeah, Shade Tree Intellectual, hey, how you doing? So nice to see you here. Okay, Rusty, no worries. We're certainly happy to have you join and ask any questions you might have about RVing or anything else for that fact. So, Tom Downey says they're doing a life type change from house to boat. Nordhaven 52, pretty busy. Did you sell your Class A? Question mark. I have two. Thanks for the suggestion. I have totally exhausted every opportunity, short of going to the Humane Society or the local animal shelter, which are not my top choices, but I may not have much of a choice at this point. The doctor that did the allergy testing on me gave me a different prescription, which fortunately still was basically covered by a $5 or $10 out of pocket by my insurance. And we're going to try that for a week or so and see if it clears up. But I'm going to tell you right now, my eyes are really, gunky in the mornings. Yeah. It's really unfortunate because I really don't want to, I wanted to keep my dad's dog, but I may not be able to. So, Senior Center, that's a thought. I haven't checked that out. Robert Black says he has MEPGA propane tank level indicators, and they work great. That's awesome. Thanks, Robert, for letting us know that. That makes me even want to keep those on the list, and I'll be putting those in the truck camper when I get there. So that's cool, Tom, that you're going on to a boat. That's just, they don't call RVs land yachts for nothing. Sam Allen, another item on my wish list, the sea level tank monitoring. Have I any experience with that brand? Absolutely. Are upgrades from basic? Yes. I replaced in my Dutch Star, Sam, and you may have the same thing going on. In the Dutch Stars, they use the capacitance type probe. Okay, so that's a probe that sits on the outside of the tank and can tell the level of water through the tank wall based on the capacitance. Now we get into the science of it. We're not going to tonight. But my sensor had just completely cracked up and was in a mess. And so I did the sea level 2. I did it on all 3 tanks, fresh, gray, and black. And you probably know this already, but you pop at least on my Newmar, I had that pegboard on the outside of the water bay, opposite the water bay where you could access the tanks and all the wiring. And then I just used the existing wiring for the existing tank level indicator. And they work perfectly. Absolutely. So I hope that helps, Sam. Yeah, I think the sea level is the best. Big W. Hey, Big W. Uh-oh. Asking for a friend. Kidding. A friend just purchased 33-foot 97 Nuwa Snowbird. Wow. The slide-out bedroom has rotted out the bottom. What can you recommend to replace the wood and bottom with? Wood. It's probably, here's the big problem. You don't want to use metal because metal weighs a lot more than wood, and those slide-outs are only rated to move so much weight. So wood is going to be your best bet. If you want to spend money for aluminum, but then that's expensive. And I don't think you're really gaining any benefit over wood. What you're probably going to find, though, is if the floor's rotted out, then I bet the walls are bad, and then there's also probably a leak up in the top of the slide. And so you're going to want to have your friend inspect that wall really well, because if the subfloor is rotted out, it's very likely that at least the bottom couple inches of the walls are going to be rotted out too. And while you're in there doing it, you might as well do it all. And yeah, wood, pressure treated, sealed wood, whatever you want to put in there, and then keeping the water out is probably most important. But yeah, they're wood now. Use wood. That's what it was designed and engineered for, and that's what will work best. Tom Downey says New Marcel fell through. They didn't think it had time on the oxygen. Okay. Oh well, somebody else will come along, Tom. I wouldn't worry about it. You know that. Tim Meyer says Mupka can now be used for freshwater tanks as well. A few are experimenting with black water tanks and gray water tanks. Interesting. Oh, so you're going to keep it. Gotcha. Shade Tree Intellectual question. What are some of my favorite upgrades to my RV? One of mine was USB ports near the bed and in the living room. Our RV didn't have any, and to charge, we had to start the Jenny. Yeah, that's a pain in the rear, isn't it? Yeah, that's a good upgrade. I did that in my Class A. So in my Class A, the best, well, it's a toss-up. The best upgrades I did to my Class A, in no particular order, were either the tankless water heater, the Girard GC2 tankless water heater, and or the residential refrigerator, the Samsung RF18 that I used to replace the Never Cold 1200 that was there. Those two things were probably my best upgrade as far as comfort, livability, just overall completely changed my RVing experience. I hated that Never Cold 1200. They don't call them Never Cold for nothing because it was never cold. And it wasn't that much work. There's, of course, videos on my channel about installing the fridge. I put the water heater in pre-YouTube, so I didn't video it, but it's a plug-and-play setup. Then probably the next one would have been the solar. Sorry, hold on. Would have had to been the solar lithium battery upgrade. Before that, when I would boondock, and I love to boondock, dry camp, off-grid, whatever you're supposed to call it nowadays. Apparently off-grid is the buzzword, so I should start using off-grid, right? I'll stick to boondocking because that's what it is to me. Anyway, to boondock, before I could plan on running my generator at least 3 hours a day. And after that, after I put the lithium and the solar on, I went 119 days of boondocking, and I had 9 hours on the generator. 9 hours. 4 of those hours were exercised hours. And what I mean by exercise is I was just running the generator to exercise it to keep it in good working order. And the other hours were just rainy days. I wasn't managing my batteries well because I got really complacent because I just had so damn much power. I never really had to worry about batteries. And I did have to run the generator a couple of times over a period of about 3 days, mostly because it was so rainy, cloudy, just wasn't getting any solar. And it was late in the fall too. So yeah, lithium. Hardwood floors was another really good upgrade. I guess those are probably the top ones. Oh, thanks, Big W. Yeah, I'm so happy to have new folks come in like you. I'm here every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Look forward to having you back again. Tom Downey says, the guy they had the inspection didn't know the difference between lithium and lead acid. Yeah, what kind of inspector was that? I wonder how much they paid for that. That's craziness. Two Feather says her no cold stays cold, but it's not big enough. Yeah, there's that side. There is that too. Let's see. I'm just reading down here. Oh, all right. Two Feathers. Okay. Okay. Install tankless. TR. Robert Black says uninstall and reinstall the tankless so we can see. Okay. Well, here's how easy it is. No special tools. You do have to buy a new door. You may or may not have to paint the door unless your exterior is white. But there are no special tools required for it. I mean, it comes with the exact same fittings that are on the existing water heater that's there, regardless of what it is, an Atwood or a Dometic 6 or 10 gallon, it doesn't matter. It's a universal plug and play fit. And it probably wouldn't take you more than 30 to 45 minutes maximum to pull the old one out and put the new one in. It's just that simple. Scotty, who left, he had to go to a basketball game for his grandson. Bought one and put one in his class, in his fifth, and I think he loves it. We'll ask him next week. Sam Allen says, wife and I have 5 great kiddos, so with 7 people, I really have to be careful with the Norcold fridge and the hot water heater. Yeah, Sam, your next upgrade ought to be the tankless water heater, because then you don't have to worry about that, because it will give you 7 hot showers. I mean, it's unlimited hot water, and they sip the propane. They're not propane pigs. All right, so I would put that high on my list, and then the fridge, of course. There's the Norcolds. They're nice. Don't get me wrong, especially the 4 doors like we have in our Newmars. But anyway, I totally get it. Rusty asks, how much solar input did I have? As of now, I have both solar, 200 amps lithium, and now the generator. I had 1,860 watts of solar on my roof. I had 6 310 watt panels, Silfab panels, and I had a 100 amp solar charge controller. So in actuality, I couldn't use quite all of the solar I was getting off the roof. But even then, that was more than enough. So I had 6 310 watt panels. But that was on a Class A, a 40-foot Class A as well. In fact, I think I probably can grab a really fast picture here and show you just a second. Let's see here. Might be able to get there real quick. Let's see, where was that power at? Was that on E? Just a minute here. Yeah, I had 6 310 panels. It's not going to come up. I could never find anything. I just looked at this yesterday. To be honest with you, I might be. Let's see. Let me do this. No, but I've got some drone footage of the roof of my RV showing the 6 panels. Got it. The 200 amps of lithium is pretty good. That's a fair amount. Sam Malloy, that's pretty funny. So, new roof, new AC, heat pumps, fridge, lithium, solar, tankless hot water heater. Hope to win the lottery soon. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you. On my Class A, the upgrades that I talked about were over a period of 4 years. I mean, I didn't do them all at once. It took me 3 years to do the electrical upgrades that I did. Mostly because, the batteries came down a lot. I paid well, just a shade over $900 a piece for my batteries, and I bought 4 of them. Talk about giving you a heart attack when you start laying out $3,600 for batteries. But it was worth it. I sat down and did the math on it, and for whatever it's worth, it turned out pretty fast that just by not having to stay in RV parks and being able to boondock for much longer periods of time where there was no costs associated with, staying anywhere. You know what I mean? It was night and day, as far as having to need power. And so I figured out that the system had paid for itself in just a little over 2 years. So what I paid for the batteries, the solar charge controller, all of the other things associated with the electrical upgrades that I did, the payoff was I paid it off in about 2 years. And the money I saved by being able to boondock versus staying in RV parks or campgrounds. No, Sam. Sam Allen asks, did I do soft start on my AC so I could run it from my lithium batteries and inverter? No, I did not do that. I did at one point wire it up just to prove that I could run run the air conditioners. I'll get it out. To run the air conditioners off of lithium. It's just not practical because air conditioners are such a heavy load that unless you have 800, 900, 1,000 amp hours of battery, you're only going to get max maybe 2 hours of AC, and that's it. And then you're completely out of power. And so I just basically went where the weather didn't require me to use AC, or if it did, I stayed near water so I could go soak in the water and cool off. So that's a good point. Absolutely. But if I was going to run it off of the lithium batteries and the inverter, I would definitely put soft starts on them. Yes, they're not that expensive. It's easy to do. 2 says she hasn't plugged in 2 months. She doesn't use much energy. I'm with you there. Oh, and the Shade Tree Intellectual says, and he forgot we were talking the best upgrades, his rear camera system that had 2 cameras, one for the truck, one for the trailer. It's been so helpful for looking up and as a rear view mirror while on the road. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I actually upgraded my camera system to 3 cameras where I had one on the rear. There was already one there. I just replaced it with a newer camera. And then I put 2 little bullet cameras on the mirrors so I'd have side view cameras. And that worked perfectly. All right. That turned out to be a pretty good session. If you have just a moment, please run over and hit that thumbs up button. That will help me greatly. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Remember, I'm here every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. We'll answer any of your RV questions. And if I can't answer them, or some of the folks that are on the stream with me, the guys like Tim and Tom and, Gary, and these guys have been RVing a long time, if we don't know the answer, then I take down the answer, or take down the question and answer it the next week. So, it's pretty much open game. We'll try to answer any question you might have. But for now, it's time to take off. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. Rusty, Sam, Shade Tree Intellectual, 2 Feathers, Tom, Gary, Tim, David, Robert. I'm sure I'm missing others. But thanks, you know who you are, and I greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you next week, 7 p.m. Mountain. Till then, peace. Bye-bye.